just did the first coat of this mirror. It used to be this, this kind of brown here. Interesting. Yeah, check it out. You can see the leaks on the ceiling. For some perspective, I decided, why not paint the bathroom mirror on the kitchen counter? You know what I mean? Like, just why not? Anyways, that's today's project, and I'm about to start the second coat. Want to join me? Okay, so this handy dandy tool is one of my all-time favorite painting tools, and right now I'm just going to use it to open this up. Pop. Remember when they were metal and you had to bang them with a hammer to close them? Yep. I'm liking the fact that these don't get rusty. And so I'll just set this to the side, and I'm gonna let you know I have a handy dandy trick for my brush in between painting jobs like this that you need to let it dry in between. What I do is I just put instead of cleaning the brush every time, I put my brush in a plastic bag like this and wrap it up. Make sure it's folded over and kind of sealed in, and then I open it up and I get to continue on just where I left off with less cleaning. And also, I just want to say that sometimes you can choose things to make your life go easier, right? So first of all, I have not prepped this surface at all for drops, because I think if I happen to go on this tile, which I don't love anyways, my kitchen counter, I'll just wipe it up and that's fine. So I'm making my life easier that way. If I actually covered it with a cloth or something like that, then my brush is likely to touch on that, and that's no fun. Also, I'm using, detail work. So, and the other thing I did to make my life easier is just this. So I decided not to paint all the way beside the glass. Whoa. So I decided to paint just to this edge. Number one, because I ran out of that green painter's tape. And, town is 30 minutes away, and I'm just not going to do that today. And I really wanted to move on with this project. So I just made my life easier by changing it. And I think it's going to be fine with that little wooden edge. So you can see what it was before. And I am also, doing my best to stop at this angle instead of like painting straight across. A lot of people do that. I try to stop right at that angle as best I can. And we're going to see if the next coat goes on even better. So while I started off with the painting tips because it's on my mind, and honestly, if we think about ourselves as whole beings, we can think about ourselves as, painters, as well as moms, as well as, just all the things, like whatever you do, accountants and doctors and architects, just whatever you do. So we are whole people, and we're complex. And one of the things that makes us complex is that we are actually multidimensional. I don't know if anybody's told you that, but you are. You are multidimensional, and I think if you are watching this video, it's very likely that you already know that. Because the people that are interested and attracted to my energy personally, I think whether it's at the top of their mind and their awareness in their day-to-day, or not, I think somewhere deep down you know you are a multidimensional being. Now, here's the thing. You might not know what that means. What you probably do know is how it feels. So when you're a multidimensional being, you can sense things. You can sense when things are out of sync. You can sense when things are just like illusions or lies or projections. And sometimes we know it, especially if we're talking to a certain person and we're like, oh, they just get me really riled up. And it's because you don't tolerate the illusion. You don't tolerate the programming in the system. And sometimes we just don't have the words for that, how our 3D world is lined up and how it's run, basically, on all of these programs that are basically controlling you, I'm talking about like mind control and interference and sucking your energy vampires, like sucking your energy like that. And some of them they're so embedded in our society that we don't really know how deep it goes until we leave. And for me, one of those systems is public education. Now, for you, I remember talking to my friend Gabrielle, for you, it might be the health system. It might be the finance world, like Wall Street or something like that. It might be, just like running everything based on the profit line, or basically anything that is not community focused, thinking about how we're all connected, interactive, and we are here to build together and to be together happily. Honestly, that's what we're here for. So I'm curious, but I wonder why you think I'm telling you this. I'm curious too. Why am I telling you this? I'm just talking a little bit while I'm painting because I want to let you in on some of the things that I've been exploring and learning and some of my realizations, because I want you to see how life can be different. Because if you've been following my story, one of the things I think that's really powerful is the change of life that I am embodying. I am literally living a different life today because of the choices I made. And you can too. And basically that's like the big message, is that you actually have the power to change your life. We are all making decisions every day. And as we're making those decisions, we're either continuing on what's already in play by kind of not doing anything differently. Or if we want to do something different, we got to choose something different, even on the small level. So that might be like what you do every morning when you wake up. Something I do is I direct my energy, and then I think about my day. This is before I've even gotten out of bed. I just think about my day, and before I picked up my phone, just for all of you. Yes, before you picked up your phone, I direct my energy and think about, what do you want to invest in? This is your life force. What do you want to invest in? Do you want to invest in your relationship with your children, your partner, your spouse, your health, your finances, your goals? This is your life. This is your human experience. So you get to choose what you're going to do with it. And before you get started about all the things that we didn't choose, I'm going to say yes and no. So I do believe there are things that basically before we came to this human experience, we said, we agreed to these challenges, I would call them. Sometimes they're health challenges, relationship challenges. And basically, the reason why we agree to them is because we agreed to a fast track. We agreed to fast track our healing, fast track our awakening, fast track our consciousness, fast track our upgrading. And all of those things are possible because you chose them. So whenever you come to a hard thing in your life, and believe me, I've had hard things, and I'm not saying I've had the same life you had. You've definitely had it hard too. But we don't need to compare our hardness, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? What we need to do is focus on how do you get living the life that you want, living the life where you feel free to live in the way that you want to. You feel free to show up in the world the way that you feel you are, the wholeness of all that you are. Your funny self, your singing self, your even your childhood parts, they're allowed to show up too. We don't have to always be so adulty and so serious. That's something that I'm learning and growing in, for sure. So, yeah, it's really exciting to be on the planet right now. And don't get me wrong, I know there's tragedies. I know that there's corruption. I know that there's, a lot of negative stuff going on. And still, there's this call of people returning to smaller communities, wherever that may be. It might be right where you are. It might be a move across the country like it was for me. People are moving into small communities because of what that means for life. It's a balance of independence and also learning to connect with the land in a more integrative way. Learning to connect with the seasons, the animals, the plants, and actually returning to meaningful relationships, even when they're challenging. And so here, I'll be honest with you. We have a neighbor, and this neighbor is very musical. And he loves to play his music loud, and sometimes it's not the kind of music that I would choose or the volume that I would choose. So yeah, and this is where we live, right? So we're not moving because we just got here. But here's the thing. Living in community is not always getting what you want, right? It's understanding that people are different than you. And do you have to work to get along? Yeah, work to understand other people's perspective. And if this neighbor, his passion is music, I don't know, maybe one day I'll be like, I really need a musician for whatever, and I'll call him. So I don't know, why exactly these people are in our lives when they bring us those challenges. That's a very interesting view. Great cupboards. But this is the thing. People are called, many of them are returning to smaller communities. Communities where they actually are known by their names, by their car, by their routines, their choices, their habits, their preferences, right? And their needs. There's one part of this painting that I just really like, this stroke. I like to do a backstroke. Oh gosh, it looks so good. And yeah, people are returning to communities because in the city, you have all of these things that are, I think, an illusion. So you're like, oh, I can go anywhere. I can get anything in the next like 5-10 minutes. I can use skip the dishes and whatever. But you know what? You're also a nobody. As in, a lot of people don't know who you are. They don't know your routines. And people hide in this because they're like, oh yeah, I want privacy. Oh yeah, I want independence. I can do everything on my own. Well, I'm going to tell you, there are times that are coming, and they are not too far away, when you are not going to be doing everything on your own, because nobody is going to be doing everything on their own. So it's better for you to be connected. It's better for you to be known now, before, and building those relationships before it's all of a sudden you need somebody to have your back, right? Now, this is not to say that you can't be known in a city, because lots of people have, those smaller communities built in, or they have the community within let's say a sports framework, and they're like, okay, my baseball buddies, or my crafting friends, or something like that. But I think for a lot of people, they're going through the day-to-day, and they just don't have that. And people feel it, and they want it, and they're making choices to move out of the unknown, out of the illusion, and quite frankly, out into the rural communities where there is not as much Wi-Fi issues. I mean, there are issues, as in sometimes you can't get Wi-Fi. And it seems to me like there's it's like the human body is calling, like almost like a craving is calling and saying, and creating this desire within us, saying, I don't want to live in the city anymore. I don't want to live bombarded by all of those frequencies. I don't want to live in an environment that feels toxic. And that, it can be on so many levels, right? Independence that is sold as freedom, but is actually slavery, that's not cool, right? Because you maybe are enslaved to your own job. You might say, well, I could leave anytime. Okay, but why don't you? And believe me, I know the whole line about the golden handcuffs. Had many people tell me their pension, this and that. But here's the thing. We need to drop the golden and identify that they're just handcuffs.